We are at the Rebel Nell 5th Annual International Women's Day event honoring 80 years of Rosie the Riveter. So come inside, let's go take a look at what's going on and interview some One Girl Revolutions. I'm here with Amy Peterson. Number one, I'm with One Girl Revolution today. So yay, I'm filling in and we love a collaboration.
Yes.
Speaking of collaborations, Amy Peterson from Rebel Nell, tell me all about today's event. What are we doing today?
It's really amazing. This is our 5th annual International Women's Day event. This year we're really focusing on celebrating the women who've come before us, and it's been 80 years since the end of World War II, so we wanted to honor Rosie the Riveter. We're also going to pay tribute to the next generation and interview some incredible entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things.
Tell me about Rebel Nell. Where did this idea start?
The idea started because I actually used to work in sports, and it was really difficult being a woman, so I wanted to start a business that was just dedicated to empowering women. Rebel Nell was born in 2013. That's exactly what we do. We exist to provide employment, equitable opportunity, and wraparound support for women with barriers. And we make unique, one-of-a-kind gifts and jewelry out of repurposed material to help sustain our mission. We just hired our 47th woman out of the shelter. We've impacted over 450 lives since we started. And yeah, we just keep on keeping on.
My name is Delphine Klaput.
Okay, and you are one of the
Original Rosie the Riveters.
Who is a One Girl Revolution in your life?
Betty.
Betty! Oh, Betty!
It's
very
Betty.
sweet.
She's great. She's just a wonderful lady. She loves working with the Rosies, and we all love them.
That is a very difficult question because I work with the Rosies, and they actually are my inspiration. They're what feed me and keep me going. What they did is what I am able to do now.
My mom was truly amazing and did so much for our family, but also the namesake of our company is, we named it after Eleanor Roosevelt, and what she stood for and everything she stood for at the time, unfortunately, is still so relevant today. She was a women's rights advocate, civil rights advocate, true pioneer when it came to trailblazing for women and women's rights, and her dad called her Little Nell, so that's how we got the nickname Rebel Nell.
There's so many. I have an endless laundry list that keeps growing every single day, especially being in a room like this. Like, every single woman that I meet is a testament of strength, survival, growth, mothering, nurturing, an example of strength, power, ingenuity. If I had to pick a person right now, and I feel like this name comes to my head a lot, but it's my mom. My mom is amazing. She's wonderful. She's also challenging and complex, and she is a perfect example in my world of what a survivor looks like. And I've gone through my trials and tribulations, but I saw how she survived through her traumas and got the blessing and the opportunity to also heal through mine. So getting to see her and understand that she risked everything to create a world where I could live happily, and then I chose trauma. But still, I now get to look at my life and the work that I do as an opportunity to compound the work that she did and make her proud and make the next group of women that are around me to also give them the opportunity to say, like, I can do it too.
You know, my whole matriline, like all the women in my family, you know, I don't have to look far. I mean, there are women, of course, out in the world, you know, I guess celebrity that, you know, have done great things, but really the women. So I would say first and foremost my mother, who recently passed. She passed last year, but my mother was just such a trailblazer. I mean, her favorite color was orange. Like, she didn't do any of that pink stuff. Like, she was just such against the grain and did what she wanted. A Leo in every sense of the word. Right, and then also my sassy Sagittarius grandmother. So she graduated from a historically black college university called, at the time, Hampton Institute. But she left everyone and everything that was familiar to her in North Carolina. She was a tobacco picker. So she went from picking tobacco, braved, you know, going to school in Virginia, and then moved to New York where she met my grandfather. And she was maybe like 5'2", a $105 with wet clothes, and was afraid of nothing. So that's my one girl revolution.
I'm gonna go with my mom. You know, she started her life over again 3 times, like completely over. in the worst way possible. And you know, she brought me to America with $100, 6 suitcases, and not being afraid to take a voyage for 8 months across the ocean going into unknown, right? And at that point I was a teenager, I didn't realize that, but when I became a mother, I understood what kind of guts it takes to do something
That's
like
insane.
that.
It's beautifully crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's
she
just-
believed.
yeah.
She believed in the future.
She's just, you know, she's turning 80 this year. She's like still a locomotive, right? She's just unstoppable, right? Like if something is in her mind, she's just gonna go and do this, right? And she really gave me that power, that internal power, that I can do anything. She gave me my unequivocal self-belief. That's why I achieved all of the things I ever achieved in my life.
My grandmother, who just turned 103, who is a total badass, right? She is my personal example of living life through grace. She's seen so much at 103, born 1922. So we just celebrated her birthday, and she is freaking amazing. She's vibrant, she's graceful, and she's everything that I've ever embodied to be. So yes, she is my Rosie the Riveter and everything.
If you could leave women and girls around the world with one message,
Just
what
keep
would it
swimming.
be?
Just that is my mantra. I quote the legendary Dory all the time because I just think it's important to just, you're going to get through it no matter what, and you know, it's the little strokes that make up the distance. So yeah, just keep swimming.
Be magic. Be magic. Magic is real. It's within you. You don't need anybody's advice, anybody's recommendation, anybody's resources. Everything that you want to do exists in you. And you have to show up for yourself. You have to show up for yourself enough and believe in your magic enough to let it out in the world. So believe in magic. It is real. Magic is real. You just have to let it out. We get the opportunity to try again and show up for ourselves. And that magic piece, like it's not easy to show up in ears and wings. But if I don't do it, then she won't. And if I don't do it, you won't. And if I don't do it, and if I don't do it for me, I won't. So I have to take the risk every single day to be like, yeah, I'm fucking magical. And I get to grow my wings and I get to stretch them out. And so do you. Whatever your wings look like, they're not going to look like mine, but magic is real. And it's in the expression of being yourself.
Just be audacious. You'll never be prepared enough. It'll never ever be perfect, but do it anyway. Again, whatever your that soul urge to do it. And I just believe that once you kind of jump, you'll either have a parachute, and if you don't have a parachute, grow wings.
Yeah, if you don't have a parachute, grow wings. That is so beautiful.
Just be yourself. Be your authentic self. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You don't owe shit to anyone. Because literally, be who you want to be. What makes you happy, not what your parents want for you, your relatives, people at work, your friends. Forget about that. Like, take time to understand what it is that truly, really makes you happy.
I would say just be a rebel, step outside your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to do things that are passionate to you.
To every woman and girl that is tuning in to the One Girl Revolution, my motto for life is to thine own self be true. It's the answer to everything. To thy own self be true.
Be their own person. That's about it. Be your own person. Stay out of mischief. Just keep going. Don't give up. Do what you want to do, but make sure it's legal.
You know the Rosie the Riveter song?
I do.
Where they say, Rosie, brrr.
Rosie, brrr, the riveter.
Can you give me a brrr?
Rosie the Riveter.
My name is Amanda Sweet. I am the Creative Fairy Godmother, and I help people get fly, make friends, and save the world through community. Those are a lot of words. What does that mean? It means a lot of things. I love to host events. One of the main events that I host is the ReVamp Clothing Swap Festival. So imagine 700 of your best friends all clear out their closet. Our amazing volunteers set it up to be a retail pop-up experience, and you get to take as much clothes home as you want, and you get to attend sustainable workshops and holistic workshops for just $25. There's great music, things like that. So I love to curate experiences for people to get out of their comfort zone and dress the way that they know they want to. And of course, make friends. That's super important.
Where did it come from? Where did this idea come from?
So I've gone to many a clothing swap. I used to do them in my house with my friends, and I moved to Texas for a little while, and I didn't know anybody, and I was like, well, I just kept going home and thrifting in Detroit because the fashion here is like everything.
Yes.
So I would come home and I would mail myself stuff back to Texas, and my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, was like, are you okay? Do you have a problem? It was like FedEx boxes, like the size of both of us, like stacked on top of each other, of clothes thrifted. And I needed to get rid of them, but I didn't have any friends to swap with. So I threw an event together. 5 people showed up. I got 45 bagels. So everybody went home with a care package of bagels and cream cheese and clothes. And then I did another one, and 20 people showed up, and we did another, and they just kept growing. And our last clothing swap, we had over 600 guests. We had over 75 volunteers, and in the last year and a half, we've donated over 30,000 pounds of clothing back to nonprofits right here in Detroit.
That is amazing. Talk to me about that a little bit, because I'm in the beginning stages, I'm in the baby stages
Yeah.
of creating events. And I know that the hardest thing is like, maybe some people won't come. Or,
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so you still do the thing.
Yes.
Talk to me about that, and still having the courage to do the thing.
I think people get so focused on who doesn't come when they really should be focusing on who does. So you throw an event and one person shows up, that is not a failure. You showed up for yourself, and that other person showed up for you. And the joy of doing events and doing multiple events is that if you do the same thing again, that one person that showed up is going to invite 2 friends. And then it's just going to compound on top of each other. But you need a community to do that. I definitely wanted to give up a lot, but I had people that believed in me, the work that I was doing, they were willing to help. So you have to, 1, be willing to trust your vision, 2, be willing to quote unquote fail, but failure is an act of trying, and lean in and love on the people that do show up, because there's always somebody.
I'm Ber-Henda Williams. I'm a soul coach. It's one of the roles, but I'm here in the capacity as a poet. I'm also a podcaster, Soul of a Lead Her, for She Who Lives and Works from the Soul, and I'm also launching a talk show. So in April, I'll be doing a live studio audience at Bamboo Royal Oak, the Ber-Henda Williams show. Yes.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's huge
Thank you.
because
Thank
when
you.
we start to put value in our content,
That's right.
and then we up level and we spend more money, it's scary. It's
Can
scary
be,
at first
yeah.
because we're taking a risk.
We're taking a risk.
Talk to me about taking risks in life.
You know, I think for me it's a matter of faith. I hear the calling of my soul, and I've noticed that when I ignore it, it gets louder and louder to where I can't ignore it, and I'm almost pushed into a particular direction. So I said, this way, let me do it the easy way versus the hard way, because I feel like Spirit is like, okay, we can do this 1 or 2 ways. We can do this easy way, or we can do it the hard way. So I would much prefer to do it the easy way. But I think it's just time. I mean, we need to amplify voices. I think change happens through conversation. And I definitely think that major change comes through when feminine collectives come together. That's when we see big societal, communal shifts.
Talk to me about that, because I think a lot of women, I'm one of them, it took me 2 years. I was a producer for so many years. I worked in TV, I worked with Barbara Walters, The View, all these things. Wonderful, wonderful, amazing. But then stepping in front of the camera, I literally, like my throat chakra was
Closed
so
up,
blocked. It
yeah.
was so weird because I was told by so long by men that nobody likes your voice, you're behind the scenes for a reason, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. So it's a lot of trauma to
Yeah.
sort of get over.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how women can help sort of understand they do have a voice. Their story really does matter.
Absolutely. Well, again, the feminine incubates life. So the very beginning of existence were the words, let there be. So voice is what activated the cosmos. So inside of us is also that divinity that's activated and living and breathing and has its being in us. So I really want women to understand that you're part of the divine process. You're part of the orchestration. And if your soul is rumbling and there's something that you feel really urged to do, like stepping in front of the camera or starting that career pathway, going back to school, whatever that restart or up leveling is, do it. And your voice will eventually follow, even if it trembles at first, because it's not going to be perfect. It's not, it's right. It's not going to be perfect. And I think that's the other thing, first and foremost, that as women, we have to divorce ourselves from perfection. I feel a lot of that is all like steeped up and caked up in white supremacist delusion, which we get patriarchy, which we get all the isms and schisms. So if a mediocre white man has the audacity, I want you to go 3 times braver, because I can guarantee you're already more prepared. far more researched, far more researched and capable. So your voice is a muscle. I feel like just like the heart, our voice is a muscle. And the more and more we exercise it, we're also the key to liberation for each other.
Who am I and what am I most known for? Okay, sure. Jenny Fedorovich, what am I most known for? So I'm a storyteller. That's what I'm most known for. My mission in life is to help people become better versions of themselves through storytelling. So I make film and television, I DJ, I speak, I write. So any way that I can accomplish my mission, that's what I do.
That's beautiful. So my whole background is storytelling. I used to work with Barbara Walters. I used to work on The View. I learned how to interview and ask questions from her, which is amazing. And everything, it was incredible. Literally, it was incredible. And so everything that I do now is helping people tell their stories. And I think a lot of times, especially women, have a really hard time with just telling their story. Like a lot of times they'll say like, it's not important enough, or I have nothing to say. What do you say to those women that just are so used to not using their voices?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I made a project called Girls Gone Vinyl, where I went around and I interviewed female DJs. And what I learned is that the mediocre guy will get up there and talk about himself and make himself get on a pedestal. And the most successful, beautiful, wonderful woman who is so amazing at what she does will always be like, no, I don't deserve this. It's just the thing that women do. It is awful. Women, stop doing that, okay? You are all amazing. You deserve to be heard. Every story is beautiful. They just need to talk about themselves. I don't know. I think we're so conditioned to think that we don't deserve these things, or it's not important enough, like you said, or is it really that good? Am I really that special? Yes, you are that special.
Yes, exactly. And I think we're in this space right now in time where you don't have to like have a project greenlit by Netflix or HBO, right?
100%.
You can literally just talk to a camera and tell your story, and it's
100%.
just as important. It doesn't need to be backed by some huge distribution company. We need to just tell more of our stories, face to camera, and tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
Why do you think, especially women, have this fear of just being vulnerable and authentic?
Because women for the longest time have been told where their place is. I mean, that's just what it is, right? Culturally, in the society, when women were raised, their place was not to get up there and use their voice and to speak about all of the amazing things that they're accomplishing. That they're just not worthy enough, right? Because they're meant to do other things. Because people were not driving the dance floors when I made that project, right? Like, what, woman? No, your place is on the dance floor to dance and entertain, not to actually drive what's happening, right? Like, women were not in a position of power, right? So, but now women are. And women are amazing, and every story matters. I guarantee you that no matter what your story is, there's going to be hundreds of women out there that will be inspired by whatever that story is.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I always tell everybody that it's not about the millions of people that may hear it. It's about the one person that you're going to connect with that whose life might change because of what you had to say, who can relate to something that you're doing or saying. That maybe you saved a life because of that story, and you don't know unless you open your mouth and speak. For the longest time, I had a hard time doing this myself. I was behind the camera for so long as a producer that getting out in front of the camera was hard for me at first. Yeah. It didn't help that a man told me that he hated the tone of my voice and I shouldn't be talking out loud. That took me a hot minute to get over.
Yeah, so don't internalize these words, right? Like, I mean, in that project particularly, I've been in a lot of male-dominated industries, right? I have a tech company now, film and television, you know how that goes, right? But the reason why I made that project is because every woman that was DJing got told you're pretty good for a girl, as if we were DJing with body parts, right? Like, am I DJing with my breasts? I don't think so, right? I'm using the same tools as any man is using, right? So, but that's, you are constantly told those things, right? And little by little by little, they take down the confidence. So, no.
Just don't let it bother you.
Don't internalize it. It doesn't matter what anybody says.
I've been starting to just like do this, like just wipe it off. Wipe it off and move on.
Who cares?
Well, also women in music, I truly feel like we hear music differently than men do. Same thing when I edit, and you're in film. So when you edit, I edit like it's music. I can feel the pattern of the words.
You know, first editors were women, because it took a lot of patience. So think about
to slice all those cuts.
To slice all those cuts. So all of the first editors in the business were women, because they had the patience. You know, and I always say, if you let women run the world from a political standpoint, there'd be a lot less wars and a lot less death.
I am Stephanie Riley, and I own Rebel Strength and Fitness.
That's amazing. Where are you guys based?
14 DeQuinder in Warren.
Okay, why fitness? Why did we even get into this world of fitness?
You know what? I actually had my own transformation journey. So, you know, I grew up overweight, trying diet after diet, and then finally found a group fitness gym of my own, got into strength training, learning how to eat properly, learned to fall in love with my body and the routine, and I just was passionate about it. And people started reaching out for me for help, and I started getting people results, and I'm like, this is where I need to be. So
tell me what the mindset shift was. I just interviewed somebody who I used to work in radio. He was over 400 pounds. And I was like, well, what was the thing? And he's like, I just did the thing the 100th time. And he's like, I realized it wasn't a diet, it was a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And it was just little incremental choices.
Yeah.
So it was like making those small choices. I think we think of like all the pounds you have to lose.
Yep.
And instead, when you micro niche it down to like, what am I going to eat now?
Yes.
What choice am I going to make now?
Yeah.
What was the mindset shift for you that actually was like, oh, I can do this?
Yes. And I will tell you, like, after helping hundreds of people lose weight and get into a healthy routine, I have found that most people that are struggling with their health, whether it's weight loss or just getting healthy in general, are not doing one or more of the basics consistently. And the basics are getting movement in daily. So, you know, hitting the gym, walking, drinking enough water, prioritizing, you know, whole foods in their diet, managing their stress. And so most people are not doing one or more of those consistently. And if you do those consistently, those daily habits, then that will make a compound effect and create a healthy lifestyle. But for me, the mindset shift was, I just think the old diet culture, you know, us of just doing a bunch of cardio and like slashing all of our calories and trying diet after diet, like Weight Watchers and Slim Fast, and those aren't sustainable habits. And so it took me learning from somebody to understand, no, you need to be strength training, you need to be moving your body daily, you need to, you know, enjoy your foods, prioritize, you know, whole foods. Once I changed those things up, those habits, that's what made a big impact. So just the old diet culture ways are gone, and it is about building sustainable, healthy habits that are daily.
I'm Felicia Hatcher Taylor, and I am from Detroit. I'm a native Detroiter, and I am a youth advocate, small business entrepreneur, and just
doing
all things advocate for women to be the best and highest that they can ever possibly be.
Why do you feel like women have such a hard time with that concept? That a lot of us stay in our small boxes.
It's so funny you said, because it's identity. It's identity. It's who we believe that we really are and what we can do. And so and it's so funny you said that. Once you tap into who you know you are, tap into power, tap into the bigger part of who you are, I think you can do anything. And I think that the part of that is the imposter syndrome of what society say that we can do. We somehow believe that. And so if we can somehow just strip those ideas and again always tap in, it's limitless.
We're gonna come up this way. So, mad dash to the stage, everybody.